This is the Cadence of Life podcast, where we interview music professionals and entrepreneurs and learn the ins and outs of their career. Hey, welcome back to the Cadence of Life podcast show. Your host, Jeff Strahan, aka your boy Jay Ree. I just want to thank all of our listeners out there. Without you guys, this would not be possible. I want to thank y'all so much for tuning in every week. Also want to thank all the producers and artists in the Austin, Texas Producers of Music group. You guys are a big, huge support for what I do and also for the community here in Austin. So I just want to give a shout out to you guys. This week's guest, my guest today is an Austin-based music producer and has worked with App Juke, Mike Fitz, Panic 8577, and the Kids Chills, just to name a few of his artists. His music is mainly featured on SoundCloud, Spotify, and YouTube. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Jaybo the Viewtiful.
Yes, sir. Jaybo Viewtiful.
Jaybo.
Yes, sir.
All right.
I don't know. I've heard it all before. Jaybo. Yeah, it's Jaybo Viewtiful. That's officially my producer name.
That's what's up, man. Outside.
Glad to be on the show, bro.
What do you think about producing during the holiday season? Is it always a good times for you?
Always, man. I stay busy every day, so it's like I'm always working on music, trying to find time, trying to find some kind of pocket to do something and just keep it going forward. So yeah, man, it's very difficult during the holidays to keep to producing going, but you got to do it, got to find a way and make a way. So yeah.
That's awesome, man. That's what's up. Yeah, I know that as a producer myself, the holidays is definitely a fun time. You get to, kind of do some remixes, but then also too, people just like to start out the new year, with new music and new things. So, it's
Absolutely.
always good through the holidays to get out there and produce something new.
Absolutely. Oh yeah, and I love Black Friday. Today's Black Friday, and the deals,
all the good sales on the music.
Keeps the boy going. It keeps me upgrading.
That's what's up. So how long have you been producing?
All right, so I've been producing for say about 13 years by this point. Been doing music in general since I was 10 years old, and I've been introduced to FL Studio by the time I was 17, and ever since there, it's brought me to where I am now.
That's what's up, man. So you mainly use FL Studio, or do you use other DAWs?
I use other DAWs. I use several actually. FL Studio is my main one. That's the one that got me in the game. That's the one I'm always stick with. I'm a lifetime member. I love it. But then I've also branched out and learned other things because like those guys, other DAWs, they bring so much stuff to the table. You got to expand a little bit, right? So I like Machine DAW as well. It's a DAW that goes with the actual controller. The controller is a blank controller, but it's like, you hook it up to the software. And they work so well together. So like I've incorporated that into my workflow. Pro Tools, the industry standard, of course, and some Logic here and there, some Reason experience.
Oh, that's what's up, man. Yeah, I've got basically all that stuff too. FL Studio is kind of my go-to, FL Gang.
Gang.
The workflow is so much easier, and it's just so easy to use,
Yeah, it's like as soon as you open it up, it's ready to go right there. I feel like a lot of other DAWs, I have to do a lot more setting up before I even get to the real music making. So FL is just like, boom, ready to go. Let's go.
Yep, man, just click, click, bang. Are you an old school producer or kind of new age with the trap?
So yeah, so trap has been around for like so long, and it's been taking so many forms. It's touched, EDM has embraced it, country is embracing it, and I like how it may have started with hip hop, but it's also getting looked by everything else. So I've started with trap in the older sense of trap, in the T.I. sense of trap, in the Gucci sense, in the Rick Ross.
Right.
That's the trap I started at. So it's always going to be in me. I've never want to forget it. But of course, like, I like hip hop, the boom bap records. I like a lot of jazz. I like a lot of EDM, and I incorporate all of this into my workflow because it's American culture. It's us. It's ours. So yeah.
Now, when you produce, do you use samples or do you do original work?
Shoot, both. I'm a hybrid of everything. I'm a hybrid of old and new. I'm a hybrid of sampling and originals. I like the whole field of just being able to be creative. It just depends. Like, I do get inspired a lot by samples. As soon as I touch a sample, it turns into an even better version of itself. Or like being original. I'm a pianist a little bit myself, and I'm also a drummer. So I like to incorporate my techniques that I learned from actual musicianship into this digital world, in a sense.
Yeah, that's always a plus, man. If you know how to use any kind of instrument, you can, do all kinds of stuff with chords, notes, scales, all that kind of stuff, and then,
Yes, sir.
use that in your music. And that's basically what I do. I'm just now venturing off into the samples just this year. But pretty much all my music before, I'd say July of this year, has all been original music, original notes, original everything.
Hey, I salute that. That's very hard to achieve.
I put out
Staying fresh like that.
13 albums, all original so far.
Okay, right on. So I salute to that.
Yeah.
Now, my very first beat I ever made was a sample beat. So it's like I ever since then I've been putting it in here and there. So yeah.
No, that's what's up, man. I mean, that's always a good thing, is if you can just grab a hold of whatever you can grab a hold of to start it out.
Yes, sir. My very first
So
sample song, I'll reveal it. It was Justin Timberlake, that featured 6 love songs. I forgot which slow jam it was, but that whatever song that was, I had to take them woes because that was so magical to me. The sampling it was cool.
Yeah, I know exactly what you're talking about. That was one of the jams.
Jams.
So who inspired you to do music, or what inspired you to do music?
Who and what? The first at the very top of the list, man. When I was younger, I was really into Hot Boys. I was really into being a Wayne fan, Juvenile fan. And of course, they had on their team the legendary Master, Manny Fresh. And I remember watching some videos of them in the studio process. And like, ever since seeing that video, I was like, man, I want to recreate that. I want those kind of moments too, where it's like, y'all are just in there having fun and whatever happens. But at the end result of all of this, it's really good music. So Manny Fresh always inspired me on how he had a keyboard. He would play his sounds on it. And like, I asked my mom, hey, can you buy me a Casio keyboard? Because I want to do that. So I ended up getting one for Christmas and like messing around and like, playing with the pre-made keyboard sets and stuff. And it was like, I feel like I am Manny Fresh at this point. So it was like that was like the first thing that inspired me in the production was him. And then of course, like, I'm a big music fan of like people who were commercialized around the 2000s. So like when people get beats from Swiss and Kanye, from Scott Storch, all these names that like, these people are super producers, but they got their placements in every single album going on. All those guys always inspire me because it's like, you don't have, like, there are other producers that are so niche that are only like, I can only produce for one type of artist style versus like these people who are so versatile. Anybody could jump on their beats. They're all hits. And that's what I wanted. That's what I aspire to be, as a hit maker myself.
Yeah, I think that producing is a huge part of whatever, music is out there, even if it's country, rock, whatever. I mean, producers are the backbone of everything that is
of
put
this
on
music
the radio.
industry.
Yeah. I mean, and I think that's one reason why a lot of people want to become producers now, is just because of the fact that it's so much a huge part of being out there on the radio.
I agree. Absolutely.
What have you learned from the journey?
So this journey, I feel like what I've learned, I mean, on like an engineer side, I kind of feel like, I've gravitated to a lot of tips and tricks early on. When I first got into it, it was kind of like, hey, you just do this and you're good to go. But like, the tips and tricks really aren't that reliable. So it's like, when I went to school, I had to unlearn everything that I ever picked up, and it was like, hey, there's actually a set of rules the way this gets done, and your tips and tricks could come in later. So it's like, just pay attention to the actual art, the main technique, and all the other stuff is just having fun with it. And also doing good business too, man. I feel like a lot of the good things that happened in my career so far is because of doing good business. Just like being professional at all times when it comes to this music. When people request things, try to get it to them in a timely manner, and just being a good business person in music, without considering even how good the music is yet, but how well I handle my physical business.
No, I agree on that, man. Professionalism is everything. Um, so I lost my train of. I had another question. I lost my train of thought. On like your personal opinion, man? What would be like your favorite VST?
My favorite VST. Well, because I've been in production so long, I got little errors of it. I have errors, errors. But I have like right now, my go-to, I have Air Hybrid VST. It's one of my favorites because it has a lot of synthetic sounds that are even more tweakable and layerable. So it's like, oh, this is so fun. Even the presets are fun. So I like hybrid. I like UVI Workstation. Has these emulators of old synthesizers, 80s, 90s era synthesizers, and like, and those two, just them two alone, like create a lot of my music. Or I also like real life sounds. Contact has a lot of good samples that are also emulated pretty well. Pianos. Sony Vox also has strings and brace strings and brass that I use that are like so solid. They sound pretty realistic. I really wish like if I can layer up more of this, but it eats up a lot of CPU, so I can't really layer strings like an orchestra. But what strings it does have, I would say it's a really good quality from Sony Vox.
Oh, that's what's up, man. Hey, so did somebody teach you how to do beats, or did you just like get on YouTube and learn?
Um, Neither. I feel self-taught. People taught me music, and then I've translated that myself over to DAWs and production, making beats.
That's what's up. See, everything I learned was on YouTube.
Nice. Oh man, the luxury to having YouTube younger.
Oh
There wasn't
yeah,
really that
but
much
you're
out
right
yet.
about the ticks and the tricks and tips though. I think that a lot of these YouTube videos out here will be like, oh, do this trick, or no, do that trick, and oh, do this and do that,
And
and
the trick be
unless you
so
know
cool
like
that
the
it's like, okay, I
fundamentals,
could lean on this.
yeah. And the thing is that unless you know the fundamentals of like where to start, how to organize everything, how to do your arrangements, how to do all that, those tips and tricks ain't gonna help you.
Correct. Correct. I
I
totally
mean,
agree.
cause I don't know how many beats, man, that I've made over the years, and I just listen back and I'm like, some just don't sound right.
Yeah, I
Like
feel
those
you.
808s are muddy, the kick ain't
My
hitting right.
my
Like,
music
what is
was
going
so
on?
muddy for like the first 5 years of production. It was like I didn't even know what that was. I didn't know that those frequencies I was hearing was called mud. So when I'm hearing people like, "Hey, it's muddy," I'm thinking like, "Do you mean that the bass is over distorted or something?" I don't hear no distortion. No, that ain't it. It's just the mud. So it's like it's it takes some time to realize like, hey, there's something going on. But once you catch it, now I can look at production in the sense of like as if time has stood still, and I could just look at it and be like, okay, fix these things before we proceed, in a sense.
I also feel like a lot of people don't realize how much the importance of your studio is, and like until I got a lot of foam and a lot of acoustics around my room and got it properly done, it changed the sound of my music completely.
Oh
Like
yes,
I was hearing a lot of stuff that I didn't need to take out, and then I wasn't hearing certain things that I needed to take out, so
correct.
it helped a
Yeah.
lot.
Yep. Those little frequencies be hidden because, like, for instance, right now my kid is watching YouTube when the sound is going on. I'm mixed through this kind of environment, but what I try to do is, like, there's parts that's visual about it. I try to do that part instead while I have distraction. And then once I get to a place where he might be taking a nap and it's purely quiet, that's perfect. Now I can get my headphones on. I mix with like open headphones, and then like I try to get all those frequencies out as best as I can before my environment gets too bad.
Yeah. See, my thing is that with my bass, you know, it was echoing too much, and
Hmm.
it was just too like in the room when I listened to it, it's like, oh man, that sounds so awesome, like, oh wow, that's dope. And then I put it somewhere else, or like, you know, put it in the
The car
car, and I'm
test.
like, oh my god, what's going on?
Hmm.
It's just because of the fact that because of the acoustics wasn't properly put in my room, and like I have bass traps in my corners and stuff
Correct.
like that, and so
Once you
now I know
created a
exactly
version,
the sounds and the frequencies that I'm hearing.
now it's like that gives you a whole that created a certain version when you didn't have a treated room, and
Yeah,
it's like, okay, like now I understand that what those elements are doing to the record. It really matters what your room is like as well as what is going on inside the box.
for sure, yeah, definitely. Because I mean, sometimes you have a mix that just sounds amazing, whether it be in headphones or whether it be out your, you know, monitors, and then you put it in somewhere else, and you're like, wait, I didn't hear that before. What is
Yeah.
that? Or like sometimes
I know
like the
that feel.
hi-hats that I use, I'll get out of a kit and I'll go to put them on my phone or go to listen to them in the car, and I'm like, what is that? It's loud screeching noise.
There's this thing I learned from school. There's this little popping noise, right? When you have a clip of a waveform and you cut off the tail before it fades away, right? It's got like, the attack and decay. It fades away by the end. I cut that tail before it fades away, so it just does this. Boop, just drops down. And that creates this popping sound. I've been doing that for so long and I didn't even realize it, but I can but once I was taught how to correct that, now I can't stop hearing it in the old music. Now I'm like, oh man, there's my popping sound. Like
Yeah.
if only I knew to do that in sampling, it would make
Well,
things
that's
a
one
lot more
thing I
easier.
love about FL Studio, man. Like everything that you want to manipulate is like within seconds of you doing it.
Seconds. I
You
totally
know,
agree.
like I know that I've seen some people use Ableton and Pro Tools and stuff like that, and it'll take them 2 or 3 hours to do what you can do in FL in like a couple seconds.
Yep. Another thing I probably can say is like from school learning how reverb and compression works was like it's what it's doing to it. Because whenever before I went to school, what I thought reverb and compression meant, I thought that you had to apply these things because that's what it needed, what people said was saying. But once I realized sound has its own properties. Sound is like water but thin. It's in the air. It's waves. It bounces off the wall. It does the same thing water does without being viscosity, without being thick.
Right.
It's thin. So it's like once you realize that what your voice is doing in this air, that's what the elements of compression and reverb are trying to help you control. Just sound properties. Once I learned that, I was like, okay, now it makes sense. I don't have to just put compression because they say so. I put compression when it's needed.
Right. Exactly. And I think that a lot of people think that mixing and mastering is as something that takes this huge, you know, ordeal. But honestly, it's just knowing the right things to do at the right time. And like
Yep, and
literally,
achieving the
I've
end
seen
goal.
people mix and master within like 30 minutes, like
Yep,
done and over
yep.
with, and it's out the
Blew
door.
my mind. Blew my mind when I saw it go down. And matter of fact, whenever I was in school too, I gave my teacher a shitty MP3 of a song I recorded 5 years prior, and I'm like, ain't no way he finna clean this up. I gave it to the teacher. He touched a few knobs on the mastering rack, and it sounded like it was radio ready. My mind was so blown after that. I was like, okay, so there's always faith in this technology. It's just about knowing what you're doing.
Yeah, because I think that even when I first started making beats, like I've been recording ever since 2001, but
Right.
what I was
Mhm.
recording was way different than making beats, because making beats, you have
Yep.
to do every individually instrument, you know, and mix and master and all that. Like
Correct.
when I was doing
And they got to
engineer
sound right
work,
together too.
yeah, when I was doing engineer work for like rock bands, it was similar, but not exactly the same. Making a beat is a little bit different than like a rock band, like recording a band. You know, you still got their
Yep.
drums, but you don't necessarily have every single instrument.
Hmm.
And you might
Correct.
not have like duplicates of that instrument, because when you record a drum kit, you may have like maybe 6 microphones on the whole entire drum kit, you know,
Correct.
instead
Yep.
of
Huge
having,
drum field.
right, instead of having like 5 claps, 5 hi-hats,
Yep.
you know,
Yeah.
like
Like that's something I learned from Just Blaze was how to layer three claps on top of each other to get a thicker clap, a
yep,
one solid thick clap. And like I feel like that too. Like when it comes to like live recording something live and putting it in the machine as opposed to something being just totally a digital creation. And like in drums in the digital field, you have to do your own painting as opposed to the painting was already there in a drum set, right? Yeah, like it's a whole totally. It's all about like how you approach it and making sure you're recreating something natural in your
Exactly.
productions.
Exactly. Yeah. Because I mean, on a mixer board, you could look at the instruments and be like, okay, well the snare is in the middle, the hi-hats on the left, the rides on the right, you know, and then also too, when you're creating a beat, a lot of times you may not use every single instrument that's on, I mean, every single piece of the drum as an instrument.
Correct. Like, and you can break rules. We can break rules.
Well, like a lot of people, they just use the bass, you know, kick, and then they use like the snare and then the hi-hat, maybe a crash. That's about it. Like they don't use no toms, they don't use no, you know, no extra stuff.
It's like they're producing in the pocket, like a pocket drummer could. They just, you know, like Questlove, he's a pocket drummer, right? He just does the snare, the hi-hat, and the kick. But then, like, I mean, that's really all you need.
Well, that's like a lot of jazz music. A lot of jazz music like that.
Totally.
You know, so I think that's where a lot of this music production that we have now is just going back to those basic rhythms of just flows. You know, there's whatever flow that you feel that's what you grab a hold of, and then you just turn around and make a whole beat out of it.
I agree. Yep, totally agree. It's always that one element. Like in production, every production I have, it's all about that first element, about starting it off and having that one sound. And once I get that main sound down, I build everything around it because that's the easy part.
So where have you produced that? Like I know that you're now in Austin, but I know that you've also kind of traveled the United States.
Right on. I got into producing when I was living in Mississippi. I graduated high school in Gulfport, Mississippi, and that's when I got into it. Went to school in Hattiesburg, which is an hour away north, for production, and then I moved out here to Texas. So those are the only two places I've actually had a place to produce in. But also, like, my journey has taken me around to like Florida. I've actually gone to TI studio back in about 2008 when I was in my freshman year of college, and this artist I met was actually going to sign to him. And then we both had to take a trip out there to record him some new music. I got to see, in real life, I got to see like Big Country and the producer Lil C, who made Young Dro's music. I've seen Young Dro as well. I actually smoked a blunt with Young Dro. That shit was tight. So like, you know, like there's the people that I work with, they also have a network of their own. And I feel like I'm blessed enough to be able to work alongside them and be brought into things I couldn't do myself. Like, I feel like that's the most important thing about relationships is that people could take you places you can't take yourself. I mean, we're only one human being ourselves. But once, like, you know, once more people start coming in and bringing in their ideas and their resources, it takes us to whole new places.
Yep, I agree. Now, what do you think about Austin versus all the other places that you've lived or done music? Do you think that Austin is striving for the music here, or is it, you know, just kind of dead?
I'm gonna keep it real. I feel like Austin is real strong, very strong. We have a very strong society of musicians who are out there trying to get it. Everyone's trying to get it, and I respect that so much. Where I come from in Mississippi, people fake get it. So it's like once they do catch an opportunity, they act as if that was the opportunity. That's their life. That's their whole lifestyle. And really, they just might have did it for one day. Here out in Texas, people really do live their lifestyles the way they say they do. And I respect that a lot. I feel like I have difficulty navigating this scene a lot because a lot of times, of course, like I do have a price on my beats. So a lot of people are looking for like, hey, you down to work? And I meet a lot of people that's like, yeah, I'm down to work. But then when we get into the business part, it's like, oh, I don't have any money to pay for beats. So like I have to think of, okay, I can't just be charging people, you know, there are moments when you got to take that moment and it's never going to happen again. I've been in the studio with somebody a year ago. I probably won't be able to do it again, but I missed out on that beat sale or I missed out on that opportunity to work because I had a price on my beats. So it's like
Yeah.
at some point I got to figure out like, you know, I do want to work with as many people as possible off the love, but also I invest in my craft. So it's like I can't just really do my whole entire job for free. But I feel like I'm still trying to figure out something where I can serve my Austin community or even who their network may be, just so that, you know, we can make things happen without hurting other people's pockets.
That's what's up. That's what's up. Yeah, I agree on that too.
Yeah,
I think that, we put a lot into investment into what we do. But also too, I think that just because we're producers, we set too high of standards
correct.
for our work. And so it's like, oh well, I want $3,000 for this beat.
Like,
And
no, they ain't ready yet. Oh
yeah,
man, so like I could kind of tell on Kanye a little bit because when I was doing some research, I listen to all my producers. I try to dive in even deeper than what I've been exposed to. So like for instance, Kanye did this interview where he said, "Yeah, man, I made this beat for Talib Kweli, but it was really for Mariah Carey. I was gonna charge Mariah Carey 17 grand. No, no, not 17 grand, 37 grand. But he only charged Kweli the same beat for 15 grand. And I'm like, why is this man talking about charging one beat for a couple of grand? It's because their money come from the labels. So they don't have these problems that we have in the underground. Their
yep,
problems are we have people that are investing in us. Just tell your investor to talk to my investor. I don't have that.
exactly.
I'm my own investor right now. Whatever comes from me came out of my, 18-hour job. So it's like whatever I do has got to be, I got to be careful more about when I deal with my relationships with people because I'm acting like I'm in the industry, not being in the industry. So that's something I got to be careful of. Is I can't take those same rules to the streets. People don't have this. People don't have their own investors to buy my beats. It's coming from them. They have to grind it out to get it. So it's like
That's right.
I gotta keep that mindset that I don't want to push people like that.
And I think that also too, a lot of people don't realize as a producer, like really honestly, man, you just need to get with the right artist. Link up with that
Absolutely.
artist and start producing with that artist. And then what'll end up happening, even if you sold your beats for $25 exclusive to this artist, he's
Right.
always gonna have your back. He's always gonna remember who you are. And next thing you know, you might be on tour with this dude, and y'all are sitting over here in the tour bus cooking up beats, and y'all both are getting royalties off of it versus
Correct.
you sitting here saying, oh well, I want $10,000 for my beat. Okay, you might make that one beat sale, and then that's it. Like they don't want to mess with you no more because your beats are too high.
Yep. Yep. Correct. Exactly. So that's something to be careful of. Like, but then there's also the beat stores, like Beat Stars, for
Yeah,
instance. And Beat Stars is of course a company based out here in Austin, but they're worldwide and globalized. And any producer around the world put their beats on there. But like there's pros and cons to everything. I private sell more because private selling allows me to serve a customer's needs to the fullest. But if I sell beats in the store, it's kind of like I just take my eyes off of that. It's like I just put the beats on there and forget about it. Hopefully somebody buy it. Hopefully they don't. And I don't like that model because also 10 people could buy the same one beat, even though it doesn't matter, even though like Migos had Versace, but that was a beat that Zaytoven sold to both Plies and he sold to Migos. They had a little conflict about having the same beat, but it was all good. Like with Zaytoven, it was all good with him that they did that because the beat game is that it's not about one person having your beat, but it's about somebody having a chance at the industry with that beat, whether it was him or it was him,
exactly.
and they both got it. So it's like I don't, even though that's okay. I kind of feel like I serve my customer needs better when I private sell.
I agree. My online internet sales is a lot harder to do than when I link up with people on network, and then they sample some of my work, and then they're like, okay, yeah, I'll take this one, this one, this one.
Right.
Like like you say, like on BeatStars and stuff like that, it's so flooded. Like it's so much uh, competition out there that
Competition.
people just they get overwhelmed. I mean, even as an
Right.
artist, I've seen artists go on there and be like, man, I honestly cannot pick one. There's too many.
There's too many good ones. That's another issue.
Yeah. So does faith have an influence in any of your music?
Faith. Totally. Totally. I feel like everything I do is based off of faith. Like like I feel like I could have quit production several times in my career. I could have just said like, I don't want to do this no more because such and such stole my beat. I don't even want to get my beat stolen no more. But it's like I've had to go through so much like discipline and trying to motivate myself again and be like, you know, I don't want to leave just because somebody did something bad to me when I got all this talent, when I believe in myself and the talent. Like I use faith a lot to continue to keep me going because it's impossible without it. It's impossible.
Yeah, that's just something that I wanted to kind of add to this podcast. You know, when I first started, I said that I was going to be, you know, speaking about it a little bit. I just feel like everybody has a background story. Everybody has something they do. You know, there's
Real.
you know, whether it be religion, whether it be just, you know, whatever it is. And I just feel like, you know, I just wanted to always ask that question to people, like, you know, is it faith or is it not, or do you believe in faith? You know, just those things, because I think that as listeners and viewers that are watching and listening to this podcast, that it just helps people inside say, oh, you know what, you know, they're not all that, you know, demon inside of them. They're actually good people, and you know, this
Right
and
on.
that. And I just wanted to put that out there for people to hear, you know, that everybody in the industry is not bad people. You know, there's just an image about that is kind of mainstream and thrown out there like in everybody's face, and it's not necessarily always like that.
Right. There's a huge stigma about, you know, the industry is going to get you, but it's like, it's a universal thing. It's both good and bad here. It's universal. So it's like, you can't just take it for just one side, one extreme, but got to have that faith that, you know, you're going to be able to get out of it what you can. I am definitely, you know, about what comes to light now in the industry, for instance, like let's say Kanye putting out his contract, right, on Twitter, a 100-page contract, and all these guys are fighting the industry now. The biggest people in the industry are fighting back that, hey, y'all been taking advantage of so many creators that are so talented. They take advantage of them for money, and creators are thinking they're getting that break when they're not. It's kind of half. It's kind of like, you know, like Dave Chappelle. They deserve a lot more money for what they really got. These people are fighting back, and I totally agree with that. And I'm gonna say that I'm glad that I never signed a contract. I never signed anything to put me in a way that I can't create no more. And I thank God for that.
Yeah, exactly. I think that you know, these contracts that these production companies and these record labels do, um it's more or less like, you know, when an artist comes to a record label, they want to get famous. That's all there is to it. I mean, there's nothing else.
Right
They
on.
want to get rich and they want to get famous, and the record labels know that. The record labels know how to push their, you know, their artists and put them out there. So they're like, okay, you want to get famous, okay, cool. You want to get rich, okay, cool. But at the same time, if you don't sign the right contract, then everything that happens after that first year, you don't own anything.
Nothing.
Everything
Correct.
goes to the
Till
record
you
labels,
buy, till you pay it
company.
back. Until you pay back that fee that they gave you, and plus you got to buy additional rights for your own music.
Yep.
Yep. But like at the same time, I wouldn't say that being signed to anybody is a bad thing. There's pros and cons, like I said, to everything, right? So I'd say, oh, one second. Is my son talking to me? But I wanted to say that industry is not really like being signed to a label is not a bad thing. It's you have to be careful. You have to be careful. And I have a theory that the reason why the industry right now makes a lot of less quality music is because they're trying to fight back against the man of the label, the man of the industry, where people aren't getting paid for what they're supposed to. So they say, you know, we're going to fight back and give you just slightly less quality than we know what our potential could be because we know we're not getting paid exactly what we're supposed to. That's my theory. Could be
Yeah,
wrong.
I think it's quantity over quality anymore, because of the fact that, like you say, these artists know that these record labels, all they want is a full album. Just give me a full album by like next month. I don't care what it
Yeah.
sounds like. I don't care if it's
I don't
good
care
or
what it
not.
sounds like.
I
I
just
got the
need
money to
something to
put
sell.
behind you. You got one good hit song already. Let's go for two. I got the money for it. Like, and then as soon as that person flops, they'll throw them away and invest in the next person.
Yeah,
That's their
exactly.
job.
They just want stuff to sell.
Exactly. But and then two, record labels they've been around for 100 years, they have all the connections. As soon as you say, I want to sign to you, that person's like, okay, we got you, all your shows already lined up because we already got the numbers to venue owners. All of this is lined up because we already got the connections to productions. We got your producers ready. We got your studio time ready. A person necessarily don't have to invest up front, but they are going to be charged on the back end when it comes to all the things that they've done. And the label has to finance them.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Well, I thank you again for coming on to the show, and I hope to have you again soon. I know you got a lot of big things coming up, and are you releasing any new music anytime soon?
We have released a song this month called Cybertruck Music. So far, it's my group single. My group is Fly Renaissance, and we are looking to release a whole entire album. So right now, a part of our campaign is testing out what kind of singles we think people might enjoy before we release a full album, and trying to follow that business model. So yeah, I really do appreciate you reaching out to me, having me on your podcast. Definitely wish you more success behind it. I can't wait to see more people that you interview and you start getting deeper into this, and it'll really be a great thing, man. I really believe in what you're doing here.
I appreciate it, man. Yeah, I'm just trying to get a little bit of views and get our artists and producers and artists out there, man, so that way people can start seeing that there's actually talent right here in Austin.
Exactly.
That they're overlooking.
People got to see us. So
that's right.
I'm looking forward to that, man.
All right. Well, you're listening to the Cadence of Life podcast. This is your host, Jeff Strahan, a.k.a. your boy, Jay Ree, and we are out.
Peace.
Thank you for listening to Cadence of Life podcast. Check us out on Facebook, the Cadence of Life podcast. You can check out your boy Jay Ree or any of his music, Beats by Jay Ree, YouTube, Facebook, and Instagram. Thank you again for listening. See you next time.